Thank you everyone for coming tonight. It's a little unusual format. We're going to have a special voting meeting first on the budget, and then we'll have our committee of the whole meeting. So I'd like to call this special voting meeting to order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sure. Mrs. Albright.
Here.
Mrs. Bell.
Here.
Mrs. Beckelman.
Present.
Mr. Gretsch.
Present.
Mrs. Jerk. Here. Mrs. Markle.
Present.
Mr. Rittenhouse.
Present.
Mr. Scott here. And Mrs. Thompson.
Here.
All present.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. All right. Procedures for public participation. Fair statements that the president of the board shall have a copy presented to the board president prior to being addressed. Comments on agenda items will be made by rising and approaching the microphone, stating your name and address and signing the motion provided. You will be granted up to 3 minutes to address the board. Your 3-minute time limit will start when you begin to speak. If 3 minutes is over, you will be asked to be seated. Any item that is not on the agenda, as well as agenda items acted upon, comments will be a designated section at the end of the agenda. Moving forward, we have a presentation by the public on our agenda items.
Chris Martino, Avenue Township, and the boards, you received my emails, you know my thoughts on your budget, and so I'll read this. It's blunt. I hope no one's offended. It's nothing personal, it's strictly business. When I started to come back to the board meetings again last fall, naively hoping that with the new administration things would improve, other than better communication skills changed. Our enrollment again is reduced by 100 students. And what's administration's response? Let's add more administrators. I realize the budget needs to be posted in 30 days. I suggest the board should have paid more attention to it before tonight. Despite all the workshops, PowerPoint presentation, and impassioned statements of previous meetings, the budget is further flawed. If you're going to approve it tonight and then finalize the 4 pending contracts. You have 4 labor contracts that aren't finalized yet. So what are you going to do? Then come back and ask the public for more money? Board members, if you pass this budget and tax increase, you might make the administration happy. You're doing a grave disservice to the people who elected you. And the agenda states you're voting on not to exceed 34.2709 mils. But the posted budget states 33.766 mils. I don't know which one's correct. I'll skip ahead because of time limit. The budget was claimed to be zero-based. It started with an $850,000 deficit, a 2.3% tax increase, and an announced $1.8 million for salary increases. That's not a zero-based budget. And if you already had an $850,000 deficit, you don't have $1.8 million for salary increases. And you don't negotiate by saying how much money you're going to ask for. You're supposed to say, what do you want, what are you willing to give for it? Again, skipping ahead. Last meeting, Ross, you came up with 3.75%. You pulled it out of the air and said that would create $500,000 a year, and in 18 years, you'd restore the $9 million fund balance. That's not correct. 3.75 generates $1.4 million a year. And more than that, nobody pays for a roof in cash anymore. I had my roof done 2 years ago on my house. It'll be paid off this November. The short-term financing of a roof would you want to use instead of burdening the taxpayers forever. Tax increases don't go away. You're going to charge us, the taxpayers, $1.4 million a year forever, plus what else you increase. Two more quick things. You kept saying the director of equity, we were required to have it by legal agreement. It's not true. Filed a right to know request. It is not true. The creation and retention of that simply DEI virtual signaling. And the Dean of Students position was created to be temporary. We're now told it's not only needed, we're talking about adding another one. We have desk audits conducted by an independent source to see if our $300,000+ worth of current administrators really need another $100,000 administrator, or are we just making our life easier? I've got more here. I'll do it at the end of the meeting because I see the red light on. I know how you're going to vote because I've talked to several of you. You're making a mistake. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
I would like to remind you though, we used to actually have an assistant principal when we had both elementary or shared assistant principal. We don't have that anymore. So we haven't had it in years. So I think the dean of students is
I used to be 58, Kristen. I'm not anymore. That doesn't mean you have to have another position because of what you used to have.
yeah, but obviously they found that they need it if they haven't had it in a few years and it's necessary to help with.
And that's what I said. Did you do an independent test audit? So how did you find you needed it?
I would assume staff of the building or same with Charlotte.
Just to be clear to the board, there are no additional administrators being added. That is incorrect.
Any other presentations? So moving on to consent items. Actions 2A1 through 2A3. Motion to approve the notice of final general budget. Motion to approve the EASD project.
Scott, could you just go over again the strategic plan, the purpose of the strategic plan?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So again, just as a background reminder, the strategic plan has been a months-long, if not year-long process. It feels like it's been going on a very long time because there's a lot of work and feedback that's gone into that. We have 121 members that represent all the different stakeholders of our community. That does not include the specific outreach we've had to our students because student voice is an important part of this feedback. And the whole goal is to make sure that instead of everyone trying to work independently, do what they believe is best, we need to define as a district what are our priorities. And that was really the biggest part of the work. So we worked through, there were 6 different subcommittees focused on various topics, and we identified what are those things that we believe are most important. We discussed that as a committee, we reviewed that as an administrative team, we refined, revised, and then tried to put pen to paper because we all know that if you don't actually clearly identify what your goals are, and then of course there's a huge part of accountability, who's going to be assigned to those goals, how do we make sure that we're staying on track with those goals. That is the work that we're trying to do. So we took all of that feedback and we really broke it down into 4 main big categories. Those 4 major categories, I actually have to pull it up right now, I was high quality education as it should be, because again, we're an educational institution. That is why we're here. After that, we have finalized our goal is joy, wellness, and safety. Again, even though I mentioned maybe it seems a little corny, I think it's important to remember that when we, and putting my parent hat back on, send our kids to school, what do we ask for? We ask them to be healthy. We ask for them to be safe, and we want them to enjoy learning. We want them to enjoy coming to school. It shouldn't be as sometimes my daughters refer to their experience right now, as a prison, different school district. Like, I don't make you go back there. And part of that is kind of growing up, and there's always a little bit, once you hit middle school, a little bit of that. But I want to push that down the road as much as we can and make sure that students actually enjoy learning. It should be fun. We should be cultivating lifelong learners that are inquisitive individuals. So, again, that's really a heavy part. The second goal that we have listed there, communication, trust, and school pride. I've said it 10 million times, the word transparency, because I believe in it. I believe the more that we communicate effectively about what's going on, I think we're going to be better off as a district. I mentioned when I first came in this past summer, it didn't feel good. And that's just my best way of saying it. I don't have numbers to put to that, but it felt as though we were adversarial with our community, and we weren't collaborative, we weren't open, and it seemed as though it was very much a closed door. I've been doing what I can to rebuild those relationships with our families, with our communities, and that, I think, is ongoing work. You don't just shift the culture in a year. You don't shift it in 2 years. That's long-term work that we need to make sure that we continue to cultivate. And that's not just between the school and the community. That's also internally as well. We need to make sure that our staff's informed about what's going on. We need to make sure that they have active buy-in in the different things that we've identified as priorities. And hopefully they have a voice in that as well. And again, paraphrasing a lot of things here, the last thing that we have is an efficient, high-quality, cost-effective operation. As a school district, we must provide a high-quality education. But as evident in what we're about to vote on, we have to do it in a very cost-effective manner. Well, where we stand right now financially, it's not beautiful. We've cut a lot, so much so that I openly say I'm a little nervous about some of the cuts that we've made. But we've done all we can to avoid cutting programming for students, because that, again, is at the heart of it all. What we're doing here is for kids. So even things that I've suggested I wasn't enamored by, right? I came to the board and even said things like, well, you know what? If we cut any deeper, the next thing that we'd be looking at may be some security things, of which we as a team of 10 here said, you know what? No. We need to make sure that our kids are safe here. And we said that's kind of like the line, that's as far as we're willing to cut right now. And those decisions that we make are all designed to make sure that we're running as lean and mean as possible. We don't want to degrade our offerings, but at the same time, there are some areas within our organization that I felt as though we could streamline. And we've done that. As we've reduced our enrollment, we're going down to 6 FTE positions. We're trying to reflect what's going on in our community with our budget. And even though I know, we may never see eye to eye on some of these items, I'm actually extremely proud of the millions of dollars that we have shaved off this year's budget from where we originally started. Again, before we even got to the board level with the budget, it was a $7 million deficit. At the end of our first meeting, it was a $3.2 million deficit. We kept honing that down to get where we ended with the $190,000. And to get to that point, it's a lot of hard conversations. It's hours and days and months of reviewing every single line item within the budget itself. And that was completely rebuilt. Why? Not because it's easy, but because it's the most important thing for us to do, to make sure that we improve the financial health of the district. So that's what the fourth goal is really focused on. And again, the whole point of the strategic plan is not because we can fix everything in 1 year. We can't. It's just impossible. But what we're doing is we're aligning our efforts, we're identifying priorities, aligning support, and then making sure that we all hold each other accountable to achieve those goals. So if it's written down here, it's going to happen. Unless there's something major that comes out, but then we'll show where it adjusts. Because this is a dynamic document. It's not going to sit on the shelf and be something we never refer to. It will set our beginning of the year goals for next school year. It will be connected to all of our administrators' evaluations, their goals that they have at the beginning of their year. We will provide a middle of the year update on how we're doing with our achievement towards these goals. And at the end of the year, I'm going to report out how we did. Did we achieve all of our goals or not? Did things pop up? Did we need to shift? You will be kept apprised of the entire process because this is a collaborative document that we all said need to get behind it. And that's really the purpose of the strategic plan, because then it does, on the operational side, help us align our budget with what it is that we say we need to do. Does that help? Okay.
Can I just say one thing? I'll just do it real quick. But the one thing, having been on the board before, I'm not going to speak to anybody directly, but your transparency this year as an administration to us, I'll speak for myself, has been really refreshing. I think we had 4 meetings, we haven't hidden anything. I know you have gone line by line by line. I get it. I live in this community. I don't want to see an increase. But at the same time, we were kind of left with a little bit of a problem. And I think you've been very transparent through the whole thing. So kudos to you.
Thank you very much.
And I'd like to add, I appreciate your work and Ms. Roberts' really scrutinizing the numbers, because I can be completely honest. I'm not sure if I would be as confident to vote today had you not done it. So, and thank you for presenting that also to the public. It's important.
And I'm going to say one thing, with our team that we have and our administrative staff, I mean, we all got together, Tom, myself, Diane, Angela, Rob, we brought all our team and the principals and all the staff members in, and we went over it all together. So besides us, it was really a team that all came together and made this possible. So I say thanks to everybody else too.
So one thing that I'll say on behalf of your team, everybody, but you guys worked through the Christmas holidays. That was a huge thing. I mean, while students were on break, everyone else, you guys came in and started with the process now. So to the team, but not just to you, the administrator, Cameron, everybody in the back. But thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Vendors, help us out, contractors,
True collaborative effort, I thought, and again, to echo to the son's comments, I thought the transparency that the administration and the team presented everything to us, the budget workshops, the multiple conversations, left us realizing that we need to get a fiscal responsibility, and we need to move the district forward so that it's sustainable in years and years and years. So with that,
Okay. Mrs. Albright?
Yes.
Mrs. Bell?
yes.
Mrs. Buckelman?
Yes.
Mr. Gretsch?
no.
Mrs. Jurek?
Yes.
Mrs. Markle?
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, yes. Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Okay, 8 yeses, 1 no.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.